Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Star Trek United Earth DY 100 series. Um, we're also going to get into the 500 series because looking at Daystrom, they do not have the 500 series, the 100 or the 500 listed on their website. So I'm kind of taking from the old Decipher book here. So we have the 100 and 500 series combined into one group here. So we'll just kind of read off from here and we'll go from there. So the mission statement for what the DI or DY 100 and 500 series, these are deep space transports that were designed for the sole purpose of transporting supplies and material to Earth's colonies. As human colonization efforts expanded beyond the Sol system, the need arose for a warp capable freighter, and the DI 500 was conceived. Um, DY transports were outfitted with an array of either fuel or bulk goods as required by the mission profile. Features construction in 1995, the DY 100 transport was the most sophisticated vessel of its time. The DY 100 transports were constructed on Earth and then launched into orbit using attached rocket boosters. Once in orbit, cargo and passengers could be loaded on board at several orbital facilities. The DY 100 used an internal chemical rocket engine to achieve breakaway speeds from Earth's orbit and limited thrusters control um, to maneuver the ship during the journey. The DY 100 lacked the ability for faster than light travel, so flight time to nearby colonies took um, several years. For trips inter-system colonies like Mars, if not decades, trips to uh, there's going to be something wrong with how they did this book. I tell you, because I got trips to LO and beyond. Um, so it's low. I don't understand that one, but in order to accommodate crews for these multi-year trips, the DY 100 operated on automatic pilot while the crew slept away the journey in cryogenic sleeper bays, not intended for atmospheric flight. Once in orbit of their destination, the DY 100 detached modular cargo containers for orbital insertion along specific coordinates. With the end of the Third World War and humanity's return to space, the DY 500 was constructed to transport people and goods beyond the Sol system. The DY 500 utilized the same hull configuration as its earlier sister ship, though the design included a more efficient ion drive for propulsion. Developed after Zefram Cochrane's historic faster than light trip, the DY 500 made use of the latest WE2 warp engine, allowing it to maintain speeds of warp 1.2, although in an emergency it could be increased to warp 1.5 theoretically. Even so, cryogenic chambers were required for travel to some of the farthest Earth colonies. Unlike the earlier DY 100, these transports were constructed in orbit of the United Earth Space Station. Cargo could be loaded and unloaded at now more than prevalent orbital facilities, replacing the need for the drop uh, or to drop their cargoes from orbit. The whole of the DY series was designed for limited controlled atmospheric entry. The components then used to build structures after landing, while it's maximized while this maximized the resources available for colonies. Um, it resulted in a one-way expedition. These interstellar interstellar bulk transports were the first of their kind, allowing mankind to transport goods and fuel to distant systems or colonies for the first time in human history. For the background here, in 1995, as humanity sought to move a more permanent foothold in space, one of the most or first deep space vessels launched in Earth's history was launched equipped with primitive chemical rocket impulse drives. Even travel to planets inside the solar system took years. The DY-100 ships played a crucial role in colonization of Earth's moon, and several sleeper ships transported exploration teams to Mars and Lowell. So I don't know what Lowell is. Uh, it is a possibility it's Io, so just keep that in mind as I'm looking at it. Other more ambitious missions intended to successfully travel out to the star systems entirely. Travel on the DY-100 was a risky prospect, as so many variables made the trip dangerous. Yet this did not deter many people from volunteering to colonize a distant planet. Initial DY-100 launches were fully automated, their passengers already frozen for the journey, and several vessels were lost shortly after launch, leading to designers to suspect several key malfunctions occurred shortly after liftoff. The internal arrangement was redesigned to provide facilities for a manned crew to pilot the ship into space, then retire to their cryogenic berths. Sure enough, gyro destabilization problems caused by the violent liftoff caused a uh, miscalibration in navigational sensors, which live crews were able to correct. Later, the DY-100 was refitted to transport larger numbers of passengers. Once such vessel launched in secret near the end of the eugenics wars, transported a number of genetic supermen away from Earth and towards an unknown destination. The DY-500 took the successful concepts of the DY-100, coupled with the advent of warp drive development by Zefram Cochrane, and developed the first true interstellar transport. These first ships could not be built fast enough to meet the demand of eager colonists. The DY-500, thanks to its warp drive, had the capability to reach distant systems in a matter of years rather than decades previously required. Still, cryogenic sleeper pallets were necessary for interstellar travel. These ships were crucial in the colonization of Mars in the early 22nd century, and many left the system entirely for destinations unknown. The DY-500 transports became the lifeline for interplanetary commerce and were popular with boomers, freighter crews who typically spent their entire lifetime in space until the construction of the larger ships in 2108. In the mid 22nd century, the DY-500 transport remained in use, albeit only between nearby star systems. Still, they remained a valuable contributor to the exploration of space by humanity. So, having a nice write up here from the Decipher book as we get into what we're looking at here. Now, in our D6, this is listed as a starfighter scale. It's a transport, a length of 100 meters. In Decipher here, trying to see what we have. Oddly enough, yes, it is listed, Both the DY100 and 500 are listed as 500 meters. Actually, their size is pretty much the same either way. And it is a size 3, which is also listed here as well. Okay, we have an autopilot of 1D, a crew of 6. Now, Decipher has complement of 6 plus 100 in cryogenic sleep, and the 500, being a more advanced ship, only requires a crew of 3 with 120 passengers in cryogenic sleep. Let's see, passengers 0, see notes. Cargo capacity is 5,000 metric tons. Now, Decipher does it a little bit differently because they go by units, and in the 100 series, it is 150 cargo units, and the 500 is 170 cargo units. Let's see here. Try and get things moved over here as I flip back and forth here. And as we see, a slightly different model being here used here. So we do have the same length, crew of 3. So just like what we have in our Decipher book here, a skeleton of 1 could pilot a DY500, and they have passengers of 40. So their passengers are limited a little bit more, and they have 5,000 metric tons, 6 months worth of consumables. And it's about the same here between the two of them listed on our D6. Of course, we're going to have a nav computer. Maneuverability is a 0D. Space of 1. Max is a 2.5. Now, there is no warp drive here, and we have a hull of 1. So let's flip on over and see what we have as we're kind of going back and forth. So here we have a maneuverability of 1D plus 1 because of the better drive system that we have. We have a space of 2, hull of 1D, so still very comparable to each other. Sensor-wise, for the 500 series, we can do a passive scan out to 1 kilometer. Active scan is 3.5, a search out to 5 kilometers, and a focus out to 400 meters with no weapons between them. Our DY100 only has passive and active scan. Our passive is 600 meters, and our active scan is 900 meters. No weapons are available on board. And as we get into some of the other fun things here that we get from D6 Holocron. So crew quarters, we have cryogenic sleepers for 120 crew members, barracks housing for 6 crew members, 5 decks, 4 escape pods, and we kind of go from there. On our 500, doing the same, we have barracks housing for 6 crew members, Spartan for 40, and 6 decks. Now this is taken out probably because cargo configuration. Remove 40 Spartan quarters and add 7,500 metric tons of cargo for a total of 12,500. Let me throw this out here mainly because with Enterprise, and we start getting the boomers and so on and so forth, we start seeing a different picture of what some of these ships are capable of. But I think if you took a lot of that out and just put in the sleeper pods, you would probably be comparable of that. So I'm just throwing that out there because of this series. Just started watching it a little bit myself. I haven't gotten that far in because usually I'm busy with something else. But we can always kind of go back and forth. I'm not going to go into the description here. Well, actually, it's not that far of a write-up, so why not? The DY500 was a class of early Earth space vessels. The DY100 class received extensive design and performance reviews to become what is then the DY500 class, kind of similar to what we have from our Decipher. Its almost pure fission engine plant produced a clean gas exhaust and powered the MHD providing electricity to the ship. At the moment of its commission, it was one of the most popular transports. The loss of the DY-500, the USS Courageous, was the worst tragedy in the 65 first of space exploration. This is the original series reference to the Star Trek space flight chronology. The DY-500 and DY-100 are similar enough in appearance that even experienced Starfleet officers were unable to tell the difference between such ships from a distance. For example, upon first encountering the USS Botany Bay, James T. Kirk initially believed the ship to be a DY-500. It was Spock who correctly identified the ship as an older DY-100 type vessel. And this comes from Space Seed. In 2155, two DY-500s were involved in the first battle of Altair 6 when they attempted to intercept a Romulan fighter, but were called off by the Columbia. This comes from the Enterprise, the Romulan war novel Beneath the Raptor's Wing. And of course, they get their information from Memory Alpha and Memory Beta. As we kind of switch on over here. Now, for the notes that we have for the 100 series, the cargo configuration, remove the cryogenic suspension chamber and add 750 metric tons. This is the same situation that we have with the 500. So you could either have the 40 chambers for an active crew, or you could have 120 cryogenic chambers, seeing that they'll take up a little bit less room. You can have them packed in there a little closer. Now, and then we get the same cargo space available. Passenger configuration, remove the cryogenic sleeper and add 20 Spartan quarters. So this is changing it up a little bit. Now, maybe the Spartan quarters for the 500 series, when that comes around, requires a little less space. Maybe it's a double bunk instead of a single bunk. I can't really say there. I'm not going to read through the description on this one, though, mainly because I think we've kind of covered this enough. But it is a fun and interesting ship. Always something to be able to throw out if you are doing Star Trek as a D6 system, which it would work very well for, and I don't see any issues with it. That is one of the biggest reasons why I do like the D6. It is very adaptable, very much like the old GURPS. Now, it's not to say that you couldn't use Wizards of the Coast with some of their systems, because at the heart of it, a lot of these are generic enough that, yes, we could change it. I just personally like the D6 system. It's a fun, easy, loose system to play with, and that's why I personally like it a lot. So, with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's wonderful having you here. Hope you're doing well, and I will see you in the next